G'day folks, I'm Tim Chivers from REDARC, where I'm starting just a couple of minutes early. We've got only 30 minutes to cover off a bit of info here. But I'll just start off with a bit about REDARC. So I assume everyone's heard of REDARC? Yes? Okay, so based in Adelaide. So we have a manufacturing facility. We've been around since 1979, so 45 years. We had our little anniversary some weeks back, and we have been designing and building products for the truck industry, and then also for the four-wheel drive industry, a lot of industrial, and then more recently the caravan industry. So probably 25 years we were entered in there, and building solutions for that. So our manufacturing facility, we're around almost 400 people that we have there. So it's quite a substantial facility we have there for testing and manufacturing. And today we're going to talk about power and control systems for your caravan. And I emphasise your caravan because everybody's a bit different. And we'll talk a little bit about that, on what your needs are. And who's actually looking perhaps for a new van, or more an upgrade perhaps for something, or just general information, because it is a little bit different when you're looking at a new van or a new application as opposed to an upgrade for your system. So, my clicker's gone. Quick. It's not there. All right, so what we can do is if I pretend to click and you push the button, and that way the remote will work perfectly, and whoever was before me, they'll have to check their pocket for that one. Okay, so we have what would be a seemingly fairly complex system here, but this is not uncommon with a caravan system. So we have the batteries, and then we have a charging source for those, and charging sources are usually solar, which we'd be familiar with, up on the roof, or we have portable solar that you would plug in when you're stationary somewhere. Then we also have 240 volts when we plug in, and then also our control. So with our control, that is how we're going to look at the system, and we'll talk a bit more about that. Not only monitoring our charging, but then also how we can control our loads. And when I say loads, that's things like fridges, lights, and then an inverter. And we'll talk more about an inverter, what that does, and how that influences on your whole system. So we're going to start pretty well basic, and then we'll knock this down into pieces of different things. So if we have a look at our energy needs, we have lots of different sources that we might use. So as you can see, gas, very common, been around for a long time for caravans. My first little 70s van that I had was all gas fridge, gas stove. Diesel, commonly used for heating for either a space heater or your hot water, and they can be combo units. And then we have petrol I've put down for generators. So generators still getting around a bit. And then electricity, which will be our focus today. But just bear in mind that you might have, say, a gas fridge, or you might have a diesel hot water system, and that is taking some of your energy, or you're utilising that for your energy. So then things such as your battery system may not need to work as hard because you are using other types of energy in order to be able to contribute to your energy needs. So things like anything to do with heat or cooling, generally they take a lot of power. So hence using things such as gas, diesel, then that would take quite a substantial load off your battery system. But that being said, and we'll have a look about what it needs to be off-grid when we say we are travelling remotely, or we are stationary in somewhere where we don't have power or water. And when we say 240, that's when we're saying power. So when we say off-grid and people say, oh, I want to take my van off-grid, they still may be utilising gas or diesel or a generator, and they are off-grid. However, you may hear the term, oh, this is a gasless van. So instead of using gas to heat water or to be able to have that for your stove or a fridge, that they wish to use their battery system. However, a gasless van may still use diesel, and they've used a diesel hot water and heater, and that way they're able to limit the size of the battery bank, and particularly then with some of the combo diesel heater and hot water systems, they work extremely well. People are using their diesel anyway because they're carrying a jerry can for their vehicle, their tow vehicle. So you can see where that compromise of what's deemed off-grid and being able to utilise your diesel or other energy sources to be able to complement with your battery system as well. So that being said, there are systems that are 100% battery system, and that will obviously be a little bit different in its costing, the way it's built, and also then bear in mind the difficulty to upgrade to those systems as well. So there's some of the combinations that are around there. One thing I do want to mention is when we say off-grid as well, it's not just about your energy, you also don't have a tap nearby. And one of the things that people don't consider too well is their water needs. So while out of scope a little bit for our discussion, it is very relevant for if you're camping off-grid. Quite often you will run out of water well before you run out of your energy. So bear that in mind, and we'll have a look a bit about that with our control system as well, monitoring water, but it is a major thing that you do need to consider when you are travelling off-grid. Okay, now one of the other things that you need to bear in mind is, where's my compromise? Whatever you do, you are going to have a compromise. That could be cost, size, weight, how long, what are my comfort levels, and we'll talk a bit more about that. So we've got some examples here where are we just based on a four-wheel drive? Are we looking at a smaller van, a bigger van? Obviously things such as towing, initial cost, they are going to be compromises that you will need to consider with your system. So what are you comfortable with? Where are you going? What are you going to do? Is all very much a compromise. So as I said at the start, what's your needs? What's your van, and where are you willing to make that compromise? Because some people don't like towing, or they wish to say, well, I'm actually going to be, I'm going away for a weekend. My needs are this. Someone else, they are living in their caravan, and I need to work, run my Starlink internet system, blah, 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 be able to run my air conditioning for many hours a day. So you can see there very different needs and where they wish to compromise. I can't compromise on this because I live in it. I can compromise because I'm happy to be roughing it a little bit and it will depend on where I'm going. So if I'm going down the prom, or I'm just spending a few nights at the Big Four in Inverloch, very, very different needs as if you're going to be living in your van remotely for several weeks at a time. So, the next question, what do I wish to power? Now, I've got a few items up there that we commonly get asked for because it's the question that we ask when they say, oh, I'm looking at a system, what would you recommend? Well, what are you running? Do you wish to run coffee machine is often popular, microwave oven, the air conditioning is a big one, and then also up in the top right hand corner is a CPAP machine. So that's if you have sleep apnea, and it's quite a common thing to do. You're away on holiday, you want to be able to get a good night's sleep. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is when you use your microwave or your coffee machine, how long do they run for? And that also has a significant impact on your energy needs. So if you make 2 coffees and that coffee machine might be on for maybe 10 minutes, it uses a lot of energy, but it's only on for a short time. If you have an air conditioner, you might want to run that for hours, or a CPAP machine, you want to get 8 hours out of it, maybe more. So you can see there that while they might use a bit less energy, you can imagine though, because it's on for a long amount of time. And this is where you'll see when you go around to different systems and they have batteries and they're measured in amp hours. And so with amp hours, it's how much current, but also over time. And that is very, very important in what you want to do. So how do we figure out what sort of energy that these might take? If we have a look, then they will need to run an inverter. So with an inverter, that is converting battery power into 240. So we can run our microwave, we can run our air fryer, air conditioner, etc., etc. Now that is measured in watts. So electrically, and everyone remember their year 10 physics, so current times voltage is watts. We measure it in watts, and that makes it easy for us to determine what we want to run. So what is the biggest item we wish to run? And then we can match an inverter. And while we're going down this path is because once we've figured out what we want to run, we can then work out what size batteries we need to run that. Once we work out our batteries, we can now work out what charging needs for that. So you can see that knock-on effect. So, why we start with what are we going to run, that will have that knock-on effect. How are we going to run our inverter? How are we going to charge those batteries? How are we going to get that solar or DC to DC and other inputs in order to be able to run that charger? So, inverter, we've got one of our inverters here. It has plugs on it there where you're able to plug things into, and often that can go out to the power points around the van. So a big inverter will do that. There are smaller inverters that you just plug straight into, and that's great for things like a laptop or drone batteries, charging, things like that. You don't need a big inverter. But that's why we start is what do you want to run? On the back, it has where the battery connections go. So it could be 12 volt, but there's also others around, 24 volt, 48 volt as well. Commonly around here, you'll see 12 volt as being the most common. So, how many watts do we need? On the back of most of the products, in fact, it should be all products that you buy, whether it be a hairdryer, a microwave, you will have a label on there. And it will say the wattage consumption. And you can see here we've got one device, there's 1850 to 2000 watts, and then another one that has 1100 to 1200 watts. So if I have a 1500 watt inverter, it could run one, but not the other. If I want to run the bigger one, I might need a 2000 watt inverter or even bigger. The other thing to consider then is, what if I wish to run those two things at the same time? So if I've got, say, an air fryer, and I also want to run my toaster at the same time, can I do it? So you can see there where we may get into a little bit of trouble. Now, of course, people might think, well, I just want to be able to run everything. And think of it as if you've got a power board, and you've probably had this happen, power board at home, or you have too many things plugged in. At your grand final weekend, we had at our house, we had people over, we had the electric frying pan going, someone was doing the toast for brekkie, and we had the kettle on, and the circuit breaker went ba-gunk, and everything turns off. Same sort of thing with your inverter. You have too many things going on, it will say, nah, that's it, I'm out of here, it's too much. You won't necessarily damage it, but it will say, I can't do it. So consider that when you say, all right, I need to have a 2000 watt inverter, that is the biggest thing that you wish to run is capable with that 2000 watt inverter. Want to run more things? Bear in mind that that's going to make the needs bigger for that inverter. So something to consider when you're looking at it. So have a look at your items you wish to run, have a look on the sticker, and you'll be able to see that. And it could be a hairdryer, a heater, any of those sorts of things. It will have that sticker on it to say what wattage it needs, and then we want to look at what inverter will I need in order to run that particular piece of equipment. So how do we monitor these things? This is a screen that we have on a number of our REDARC products, and you will see here that we've got lots of information on this screen. And let's have a look at this particular one here. This is our battery, and there's 60% of our battery in there. Now there's another piece of information under there as well that says 1 hour. So 1 hour is our time. And remember we talked about time, where we have how long we might have appliances on for. So at this particular moment, we have a high amount of items on, and our battery's down at 60%, and it's indicating to us that we've got a bit under an hour at the exact time that we're at this instant that we're running that equipment. So this was actually under test. We've got heaps of stuff going on, and there's less than an hour. If we were to turn those things off, then that might jump up to say, oh, now we've got 2 days worth. Or it might even say it's 2 days until we're full, because we've got some charging things coming in. So that's very, very handy for you to be able to see how long have I got at the moment. Now, if we've got an air conditioner running here, then we'd say, oh, we haven't got long before we're not able to run that air conditioner anymore. And that's okay, as long as we're aware of it. We go, oh, it's almost okay now, or we're only stopped for lunch, pop the air conditioning on, cools the van down, have our lunch, and we're going to head off again anyway. So that battery will be able to charge up as we drive along. So time is a big thing. Now, also we've got control with this one as well. And you can see here there's a number of items that we've got that is on or off at this particular time. Now, with a system that has some smarts in it, it is also able to warn us a bit about if we're dropping too low, or if we happen to be down at the beach at the time when this is going on, it's able to turn things off for us. And the programming of that, and this particular system is able to be programmed, so we can say, oh, we want lights to turn off and maybe the aircon, but what's our most important thing? Our fridge, of course, we want that to stay on, because if that turns off, then we're in the tutty a little bit, because we don't want our meat and stuff to go off. Or worse, our beer not be cold as it could be. So that's the sort of thing that you need to consider with your control system. Now, on that screen as well, you'll see that there's some water tanks here, and that is something that we need to obviously be very mindful of if we are off grid, that we've got our water tanks on there. The other thing that can be useful is this particular system has a Bluetooth connectivity, and we're actually able to look at that on a device such as a phone or an iPad, etc. So that can be very useful to make sure that while you're driving down the road, or that your system is working all right. But also, if you're driving down the road and you go, ooh, wouldn't it be great to spend a couple of nights in that national park? What do you reckon? Then we can see, oh, our water, we really need to top up or do something about that before we head into that national park. So great to be able to have that facility. Again, what do you need, or are you happy to be a minimalist with your water and just take it easy? Now, what is my comfort level? Very important to say what you can do with and without. Can you do without your coffee machine for a few days? Yes, no, and that will vary depending on who we talk to here. And you'll see there's two types of people in the world that I've got. One is where they're, oh no, we're dropping in the fuel. This is assuming on your fuel gauge, and quick, where's the nearest service station? Others are quite happy to let it run right down. Now, unfortunately, it's usually those two people are married to each other. But so I'll leave that one well alone. But you can see what is your comfort level, and because we get people saying, oh, my battery had dropped to 80% overnight, and then what's going to happen? You go, well, yeah, it'll be daytime, and the solar will fill it up. But they panic at what, that things will drop. And I get it, and because we don't know what the weather's going to be like, maybe it's not going to recover during the day, but just be aware of what your comfort levels are, and perhaps those who you're travelling with as well, because if things do shut down, and then you could be in an uncomfortable position. So I've been shouted at a few times when things are getting a bit low than what they should. It can be a horrible feeling when you are remote. So that's my comfort level. So key takeaways from what we're talking about. Consider your energy needs and perhaps your wants as well. So what are you happy to perhaps forego for a bit, or what do you say, no, I need to have my CPAP machine because I want to have a basic, a good sleep at night. I need to have my coffee machine. If it gets hot, I'm happy to sit outside for a bit or jump in the sea while we're camping away, and that's good enough. I don't need my air conditioner, it's a want. But that being said, maybe you do need it because where you're travelling, that is a particular need. So consider that. Have a look at what you wish to run then, so the different types of equipment. Have a look on the sticker, do I need an inverter? If so, what size? And consider that biggest piece of equipment that you need. And then also, if you're going to run multiple pieces of equipment, because I need to run this and this, therefore I'm going to need an inverter that is X amount of size in our watts, because we've added those up together. So the other thing is, how will I monitor and control my system? So being able to see what's going on at any time is very, very useful, and that will help you learn quickly about what's going on, because things such as also a fridge, where a fridge, and you'll have this scenario where you say, oh, my fridge only draws X amount, or I can run it for X amount of days. It will vary dramatically depending on the conditions. So if you're in hot environment, that fridge working hard, or you're running a freezer, then it will vary vastly how much time that you're able to run that particular item for. So control, monitor, and then, oh, hang on, wait, go back one more. You're welcome to come and see us, stand 234. We've got the REDARC stand there. Happy to chat, answer any questions. We've got a couple of minutes if there's any burning questions that we've got at the moment. Nothing burning. All right. So come and have a chat with us. Happy to we've got brochures down there, and have a good chat with our staff down there. Otherwise, thank you very much for your attention.